Valoran Empire was old. It had existed for thousands of years, spreading across 7 star systems. At the heart of this empire sat a beautiful planet called Sereth. And on Sereth, in a palace made of shining crystal, lived Queen Miravel. The Valorans were not like humans. They were tall and thin, with silver-blue skin that seemed to glow from inside. Their eyes shimmered like stars. They lived for thousands of years, and they felt emotions more deeply than any other species in the galaxy. When a Valoran loved someone, that love was absolute. When they lost someone, the pain could drive them mad. Queen Miravel knew this pain well, 30 cycles ago. When her daughter was still young, something terrible happened. The Krath Syndicate attacked. They were space pirates, cruel and greedy, and they took hostages for money. On that dark day, they took Princess Univel. The queen sent her best warriors to find her daughter. She offered half of her treasury as reward. She begged, she threatened, she did everything a mother could do. But the syndicate vanished into the lawless parts of space where no one could follow. They disappeared, and they took the princess with them. That was 30 years ago now. Queen Miravel sat on her throne of crystal. Her face showed nothing. Her eyes, once warm, were cold like ice. The servants and nobles moved around her carefully, like they were walking near a dangerous animal. Everyone knew not to mention the princess. Everyone knew not to speak of what was lost. The queen ruled well. She was fair and strong, but she never smiled. She never laughed. It was like the part of her that could feel joy had died on the day. Her daughter was taken. Some nobles whispered that she should have another child, a new heir for the empire, but the queen refused. In her heart, she still waited. She still hoped. Even after 30 years, a small part of her believed that somehow, somewhere, her daughter was alive. It was into this cold and grieving empire that humanity arrived. The ship was called the Esk Horizon. It was small compared to Valoran vessels. It was not beautiful or elegant. It looked rough and practical, like a tool rather than a work of art. The humans inside had only been traveling among the stars for a short time. Other species called them primitive and reckless. But the Valorans were curious. They had never met humans before. So they allowed the ship to land on Sereth and granted the humans an audience with the queen, Captain. Park Junho led the human delegation. He was 42 years old, with a face marked by hard experiences. He had fought in conflicts on 3 different colony worlds. He was known for his unusual tactics and his stubborn nature. Once he made a decision, nothing could change his mind, and he never, ever left his people behind. Walking beside him was Lieutenant Kim Sora. She was young, only 28, with sharp eyes and a quick mind. Her job was to study alien cultures and help with communication. She noticed things that others missed. The throne room was massive. Crystal pillars rose toward a ceiling so high it disappeared into soft light. Valoran nobles stood on both sides, tall and glowing, looking at the humans with mild interest. And at the far end, on a throne that seemed carved from a single diamond, sat Queen Mira. She was beautiful in a cold way. Her silver-blue skin glowed faintly. Her eyes were like frozen stars. She wore robes of deep purple, and a crown of crystallized light sat upon her head. Captain Junho bowed respectfully. He spoke the formal words of greeting that Sora had taught him. He talked about peace and friendship between humans and Valorans. He offered gifts and trade agreements. The queen listened. Her face did not change. When Junho finished speaking, she simply nodded once. "Humanity is young," she said. Her voice was soft but carried through the whole room. "We will consider your words. You may remain on Sereth for 3 days. Then you will leave." That was all. The audience was over. As the humans turned to go, Sora noticed something. In a small alcove near the side of the room, half hidden by shadow, there was a holographic picture. It showed a young Valoran girl, maybe the equivalent of a human teenager. She had the same silver-blue skin as the others, but her eyes were different. They were golden, warm like sunlight. The girl in the picture was smiling. An old servant caught Sora staring. His face became worried, and he quickly guided her away from the alcove. That night, on the horizon, Sora could not stop thinking about the picture. There was so much sadness in that throne room. The queen looked like someone who had forgotten what happiness felt like. And that picture, hidden away but not removed, seemed important. She began to research. The ship's computer had gathered data about Valoran culture and history. Sora searched through it for hours. Finally, she found what she was looking for. The story of Princess Unive El Sora read about the kidnapping. She read about the failed rescue attempts. She read about how the queen changed after losing her daughter. How the whole empire fell into a kind of quiet mourning. 30 years. The princess had been missing for 30 years. Sora went to find Captain Junho. She found him in his quarters, looking at a photograph of his own family. His wife, his young daughter. He looked up when Sora entered. "Lieutenant, what is it?" Sora told him everything. She talked about the queen, the lost princess, the Krath Syndicate. Junho listened in silence. When she finished, he shook his head slowly. "It's been 30 years. She's probably dead, but what if she isn't?" Junho looked at the photograph in his hand. His daughter smiled up at him from the image. He thought about how he would feel if someone took her. He thought about searching for 30 years and never finding answers. "The Krath Syndicate," he said quietly. "We've seen them near the Outer Rim. Nasty group. Sir, if we could find the princess and bring her back." "It's not our problem, Lieutenant. We're here for diplomacy. For trade agreements." Sora nodded, but she did not leave. She waited. Junho stared at the picture for a long time. The ship hummed quietly around them. Stars moved slowly past the window. Finally, he stood up. "Up! Plot a course for the Outer Rim," he said. "We're going to find that princess." Sora felt her heart jump. "Sir, are you sure?" Junho looked at her with tired eyes. "No," he admitted. "I'm not sure of anything. But I have a daughter too. And if she was lost, I would want someone to look for her. Even after 30 years, even if everyone else had given up." He walked toward the bridge, and Sora followed. Behind them, the crystal palace of Sereth glowed in the darkness of space. And on her throne, Queen Miravel sat alone, not knowing that hope was coming. Not knowing that strange creatures from a young world were about to do what her own warriors could not. The humans were going. To find her daughter, the horizon turned away from the beautiful planet and pointed its nose toward the dark regions of space. The engines hummed louder, and Captain Park Junho began the most important mission of his life. Not for politics, not for trade, not for power. For a mother who had cried long enough. The Outer Rim was the edge of everything. Beyond it, there were no laws, no governments, no safety. Ships disappeared there all the time. Distress signals went unanswered. It was a place where only the desperate or the dangerous went. The horizon flew into this darkness without hesitation. Captain Junho assembled a small team for the mission. He chose people he trusted completely. Lieutenant Sora would help with communication and research. Chief Engineer Beek Do-yan was a gruff man with rough hands and a sharp mind. He could fix anything with scrap metal and patience. And Corporal Yoon Hana was the ship's best shooter. She was quiet and serious, and she never missed her target. The rest of the crew would stay with the horizon. Junho gave them simple orders. "Wait, if the team did not return within 30 days, go home. Don't come looking for us," he told them. "That's an order." The crew did not like it, but they obeyed. The first stop was a space station called the Broken Nail. It floated in an asteroid field, hidden from most scanners. Pirates and criminals gathered there to trade information, goods, and secrets. It was a dangerous place. It was also the best place to find rumors. Junho and his team walked through the dirty corridors of the station. The air smelled bad. Strange aliens watched them with suspicious eyes. Everyone carried weapons. Trust was not something that existed here. Sora asked questions. She had learned how to talk to criminals and outcasts. She offered small bribes. She listened carefully to every word. Most people knew nothing about the Krath Syndicate. Some pretended they had never heard the name. But a few mentioned that the syndicate had fallen apart years ago. Its leaders had killed each other. Its members had scattered. The princess. One old pirate laughed. She's dead, girl. They all end up dead. Sora did not believe him. They visited 3 more stations over the next week. Each one was worse than the last. Each one gave them small pieces of information. Slowly, they began to understand what had happened. The Krath syndicate had not killed the princess. They had sold her. Sold her. Junho's voice was hard. To who? Anyone with money, a smuggler told them. Royal blood is valuable. Collectors pay good prices for that kind of thing. A child treated like property. Sold like cargo. He thought of his own daughter and had to look away. At the 4th station, called the Hollow Market, they found someone unexpected. He was an old Valoran, sitting alone in a dark corner. His glow was almost gone. His clothes were torn and dirty. He looked like someone who had given up on life long ago. His name was Telos. Sora recognized the name from her research. Telos had been a palace guard on Sarath. He was supposed to protect the princess on the day she was taken. He failed. When the rescue missions also failed, he left the palace in shame. He had been searching for the princess ever since, using his own money. Traveling alone through dangerous space. Now his money was gone. His hope was almost gone too. But he was still searching. Why should I trust humans? Telos asked. His voice was weak and tired. Everyone lies out here. Everyone wants something. Junho sat down across from him. You're right. Everyone wants something. I want to bring that girl home. Why? You don't even know her. Junho was quiet for a moment. Then he said, because someone should. Because 30 years is long enough. Because there's a mother on Sarath who can't stop crying and maybe I can help. Telos stared at him. The old Valoran had met many species in his travels. He had learned that most of them were selfish. Most of them only cared about themselves. But something in the human's eyes was different. You really mean it, Telos said slowly. You're really here to help. Yes, Telos was quiet for a long time. Around them, the station hummed with noise and activity. Criminals made deals. Stolen goods changed hands. Violence waited around every corner. Finally, the old guard spoke. I know what happened to her, he said. The syndicate sold her to a mining company. They wanted her because of her royal blood. They thought it would bring them luck and status. Stupid, superstitious fools. Where is this company now? Sora asked. Gone. It collapsed years ago. But before it died, it moved its most valuable assets to a mining colony. A terrible place on a dead world. What world? Kethferdoyen immediately began checking records. He was good with computers and data. His thick fingers moved quickly over the screens. After an hour of searching, he found something. He's right, Doyen said. Old shipping records show a Valoran asset was transferred to Keith 15 years ago. No record of it ever being transferred out. She could still be there, Sora whispered. Or she could be dead, Hannah said quietly. Valorans can't survive long without their people. The isolation destroys them. Junho nodded. He knew the risks. The princess might be dead. Or worse, she might be alive but broken, her mind shattered by decades of loneliness. We go anyway, he said. Telos struggled to stand. I'm coming with you. You're in no condition to fight. I don't care. I've been chasing her ghost for 30 years. If she's there, dead or alive, I need to see. I need to know. Junho looked at the old Valoran. He saw the pain in those dim eyes. He saw the guilt that had eaten at Telos for 3 decades. All right, Junho said. You can come. The Horizon left the Hollow Market and set course for Keth 4. The journey would take 2 weeks. Through dangerous territory, they would need to avoid patrols and pirates. They would need luck during the journey the crew prepared. Doyen checked the weapons and repaired small problems with the ship. Hannah practiced shooting in the cargo bay. Sora studied everything she could find about Keth 4. The planet was a nightmare. Volcanic activity. Poisonous air. extreme temperatures. The only reason anyone went there was for the rare minerals in the ground. Mining operations on Keith 4 used slave labor. Workers were sent there to die. She's survived 15 years in that place, Sora said quietly. She's stronger than anyone knows. Tella sat alone most of the time. He stared out the windows at the passing stars. Sometimes he talked about the princess as a child, how she used to laugh, how her eyes glowed golden when she was happy, how she loved to play in the palace gardens. She was kind, he said one night. Too kind for this universe. I should have protected her better. Junho put a hand on the old guard's shoulder. You're still protecting her. You never stop looking. Tello shook his head. Looking isn't enough. I should have saved her.
Maybe you will.
Maybe we all will. The horizon continued its journey. The stars grew darker. The space around them felt emptier and more dangerous. They were leaving civilization behind, heading toward a place where no one would help them if things went wrong. On the bridge, Junhal stood alone, watching the darkness ahead. He thought about his daughter back on Earth. He thought about Queen Miravel on her crystal throne. He thought about a young princess with golden eyes who had spent 30 years in the worst places the galaxy had to offer. Coming, he said quietly to the stars. Hold on just a little longer. The ship flew on, carrying 5 people toward a dead world. 4 humans and 1 old Valoran. All of them chasing a hope that might already be gone, but they would not stop. They would not turn back. Because sometimes, hope is all that matters. Keth4 was worse than any of them imagined. The planet was dark and angry. Volcanoes erupted across its surface. Rivers of fire flowed between black mountains. The air was poison. Nothing lived there naturally. It was a world meant only for death. The horizon landed far from the main mining complex. They could not simply walk in through the front door. They needed a plan. Doyan scanned the area and found what they needed. A small entrance on the eastern side of the complex. An old air shaft that led directly into the mining tunnels. It was not guarded. It was not supposed to be used by anyone. It'll be tight, Doyan said, but we can fit. They put on protective suits to survive the poisonous air. The suits were heavy and uncomfortable. Breathing was hard. Moving was harder. But they had no choice. Junho led the way. Behind him came Sora, then Hannah, then Doyan. Old Tello stayed with the ship. He was too weak for this part of the mission. His job was to keep the horizon ready for a fast escape. The air shaft was narrow and dark. They crawled through it for what felt like hours. The metal walls shook from volcanic activity below. Sometimes they heard distant explosions. Sometimes they felt the heat through their suits. Finally, they reached the inside of the mining complex. What they saw made them sick. Workers moved through the tunnels like ghosts. They were thin and weak. Their clothes were torn. Their eyes were empty. Guards with weapons stood everywhere, watching. If a worker fell down, the guards beat them until they got up again. If they could not get up, they were dragged away and never seen again. This is hell, Sora whispered. Focus, Junho said. His voice was hard, but his hands were shaking. We find the princess. We get out. Then we can think about what we've seen. They moved carefully through the tunnels. Hannah went first, checking each corner. Her rifle was ready. Sora used a small device to scan for Valoran life signs. Dogan watched their backs. The mining complex was huge. Tunnels went in every direction. The heat was terrible. Even through their suits, they could feel it pressing against them. After an hour of searching, Sora's device beeped. I have something, she said. Valoran life sign. Weak, but real. That way, they followed the signal deeper into the mines. The tunnels became narrower. The air became hotter. They were going toward the center of the planet, toward the places where the most dangerous work happened. Finally, they reached a large chamber. Slaves worked everywhere, breaking rocks with simple tools. Guards shouted orders. Machines roared and sparked. And there, in the deepest part of the chamber, they saw her. She was breaking rocks like the others. Her movements were slow and mechanical. She did not look up. She did not speak. She simply worked over and over, like a machine that had forgotten how to stop. The other prisoners called her Ghost. She had been Valoran once. Her skin should have glowed silver blue. Her eyes should have shone with inner light. But now she was gray, pale. Her glow was almost completely gone. Her eyes were dim and empty. 30 years of suffering had taken almost everything from her, so I moved closer, while the others watched for guards. She approached the gray woman carefully, like approaching a frightened animal. "Princess Univel," Sora whispered. The woman did not respond. Her pickaxe kept hitting the rock, up and down. Up and down? Sora tried again. She spoke in Valoran this time, using words she had learned during the journey. Still nothing. Then Sora remembered something. During her research, she had found an old recording, a lullaby that Queen Miravel used to sing to her daughter. Sora had memorized the words. Softly, carefully, she began to sing. The song was simple. It was about stars and dreams and a mother's love. Sora's accent was not perfect. Her voice shook, but the words were right. The pickaxe stopped. The gray woman turned slowly. Her dim eyes looked at Sora. Something moved in those eyes. Something that had been sleeping for a very long time. "Mother?" The voice was broken, rough, like it had not been used for years. "Your mother is waiting for you," Sora said gently. "We're taking you home." For a moment, the woman just stared. Then her eyes filled with tears. They ran down her gray face, leaving clean lines in the dirt. "Home," she whispered. "I don't. I forgot what home is." "That's okay," Sora said. "We'll show you." Junho moved closer. "We need to go. Now." But it was too late. Somewhere in the complex, an alarm began to scream. Guards came running. They had weapons ready. They were shouting into communicators. The overseer of the mine, a large creature named Grell, with many arms and no mercy, was being informed of the intruders. "Move," Junho ordered. Hannah raised her rifle and began shooting. Guards fell. Others took cover. The prisoners scattered, screaming and running in every direction. Junho grabbed the princess, but she could barely stand. Years of hard work and poor food had made her weak. Her legs would not carry her without hesitation. Junho lifted her onto his back. "Hold on to me," he said. "Don't let go." They ran. The tunnels were chaos. Alarms screamed. Guards appeared around corners. Hannah shot them down. Doyen set small explosions to block the paths behind them. Sora led the way, using her device to find the fastest route back to the airshaft. The princess hung on to Junho's back. She weighed almost nothing. He could feel her bones through her thin clothing. She was barely alive. "Stay with me," he told her. "Don't give up now." "Why?" she whispered. "Why are you doing this?" "Because you matter. Because your mother never stopped loving you. Because giving up on people is not what humans do." They reached the airshaft. Doyen went first, pulling himself through. Then Sora. Then Hannah, still shooting at the guards behind them. Junho pushed the princess into the shaft. "Crawl," he ordered. "Go." She was too weak. She couldn't move fast enough. Behind them, Grell appeared. The overseer was huge and angry. He carried a weapon that hummed with deadly energy. "You think you can steal from me?" he roared. "That asset is mine." Junho raised his own weapon. "She's not an asset. She's a person, and she's going home." He fired. Grell dodged and fired back. The blast hit the wall near Junho's head. Rocks fell. Smoke filled the air. Junho kept shooting, covering the others. "Go, go, go." Hannah grabbed the princess and pulled her through the shaft. Sora and Doyen helped from the other side. Junho backed toward the entrance, still firing. A blast caught his leg. Pain exploded through his body. He fell, Captain. Sora screamed, "Junho," gritted his teeth and crawled into the shaft. Behind him, Grell roared in fury. More guards arrived. Weapons fired. The team pulled their captain through the narrow tunnel. They dragged the princess and the wounded man through darkness and heat. They could hear growls screaming behind them, getting closer. Then they were out. The poisonous air of Kethfor surrounded them. The horizon was waiting, its ramp down, its engines ready. Telos stood at the entrance, his old face full of shock as he saw the gray woman. "Princess?" he whispered. "Get on the ship." Doyen shouted. They ran. Grell's forces came out of the mine entrance behind them. Weapons fired. The ground exploded around them. Gunho limped as fast as he could, supported by Hannah. They reached the horizon. The ramp closed behind them. "Go." Junho screamed. "Get us out of here." The ship lifted off. Weapons fire hit the hull. Alarms screamed on the bridge. Doyan ran to the controls and pushed the engines to their limit. The horizon climbed into the sky, leaving Kethfor behind. But they were not safe yet. Grell had ships of his own. The chase was just beginning. On the floor of the ship, the gray princess lay still. Telos knelt beside her, tears running down his old face. "I found you," he whispered. "After all these years, I finally found you." Her dim eyes looked at him. She did not recognize him. She did not recognize anything. But she was alive, and that was enough. That was more than enough. The horizon flew into the darkness of space, carrying its wounded crew and its precious cargo. Behind them, enemy ships were launching. The hardest part was still ahead, but they had her. After 30 years, they had her now. They just had to get her home. The horizon was broken, but still flying. The shields were failing. The hull had holes in it. One engine was barely working. But Doyan kept everything running with wire, hope, and curse words. Every day he fixed something. Every day something else broke. They were being hunted. Grell had sent bounty hunters after them. Word had spread through the criminal underworld that someone had stolen a valuable Valoran. Now every pirate and mercenary in the Outer Rim was looking for the small human ship. Junho's leg was healing slowly. The blast had done serious damage. He walked with a limp now. The pain was always there, but he refused to rest. He spent hours on the bridge watching for enemies, planning routes through dangerous space. The journey back to Valoran territory would take weeks. They had to avoid main travel paths. They had to hide in asteroid fields and nebulas. They had to be clever and careful, but the hardest battle was not against their enemies. It was for the soul of Princess Univi. At first, she would not talk to anyone. She curled into corners of the ship and stared at walls. She flinched at loud noises. She refused food. When anyone came too close, she shook with fear. 30 years of slavery had broken something inside her. Telos tried to reach her. He sat near her for hours, speaking softly about the old days. He told her about her mother. He described the palace gardens where she used to play. He recited poems that she had loved as a child. Sometimes she seemed to hear him. Sometimes a flicker of recognition passed through her dim eyes. But then it would fade, and she would return to her empty staring. "I don't know how to help her," Telos admitted one night. His old face was full of pain. "The damage is too deep." Sora refused to give up. She spent time with the princess every day. She read stories aloud. She played Valoran music that Doyen had found in old data files. She talked about simple things. The weather on Earth, the taste of good food, the feeling of warm sunlight. She did not demand anything. She did not push. She simply offered her presence. Slowly, very slowly, the princess began to respond. She started eating a little. She began to look at people when they spoke. One day, she said Sora's name. It was the first time she had spoken anyone's name in years. Hannah connected with her in a different way. The quiet corporal did not talk much. She just sat nearby, cleaning her weapons, going about her work. She asked nothing and expected nothing. The princess seemed to find this peaceful. Sometimes she watched Hannah work. Sometimes she fell asleep near her. The first real sleep she had known in a long time, in Captain Junho. Talked to her like a friend. He told her about his daughter back on Earth. He showed her pictures. He admitted that he was afraid too. afraid they would not make it, afraid he had made promises he could not keep. "I don't have all the answers," he told her one night. "I'm just a man doing his best. That's all any of us can do."
Ow!
The princess listened. She did not speak much, but she listened. And then one day she asked a question. "Why?" Junho looked at her. "Why what? Why are you doing this? You don't know me. I am nothing to you. Why risk your lives?" Junho thought for a long moment. Then he said, "Because giving up on people is easy. Fighting for them is what makes us human." The princess did not fully understand. But something in those words touched her. Something began to heal. Her glow started to return. Faint at first, like a candle in darkness, but real. Each day her silver blue skin became a little brighter. Each day her golden eyes held a little more warmth. She began to remember her mother's voice. The palace gardens. A favorite toy. The way the stars looked from her bedroom window. The memories hurt, but they were hers. They proved that she had been someone before the mines. Someone loved. Someone important. But the dangers continued. Bounty hunters attacked twice. The first time, Doyon tricked them with false signals and led them into an asteroid field. The second time, Hannah shot their leader through the cockpit window and the others ran. Grell himself was still hunting. He had connections everywhere. He had offered a huge reward for the return of his property. The horizon hid in nebulas. It traveled through dead systems. It ran silent and dark, invisible to most scanners. Junho pushed the damaged ship as hard as he could. Every day brought them closer to Valoran space. Every day brought them closer to safety, but they were running out of luck. In a narrow passage between two gas giants, they were ambushed. 3 ships appeared, blocking their path. Their weapons were charged. Their message was clear: surrender or die. Junho made a choice. "Full speed ahead," he ordered. "Sir." Sora's voice was shocked. "We can't fight 3 ships. We're not fighting. We're running through them." Doyon pushed the engines. The horizon leaped forward. Weapons fire exploded around them. Shields failed. The hull screamed as metal bent and broke, but they made it through. The bounty hunters turned to follow, but they were slower. The horizon disappeared into a thick gas cloud, and the pursuit lost them. In the silence that followed, the crew caught their breath. The ship was badly damaged. They were all exhausted. But they were alive, and Valoran space was only 3 days away. The princess sat on the bridge looking at the stars. Her glow was stronger now. Her eyes were clearer. She was not healed, not completely, but she was becoming herself again. 3 more days, Sora said softly. Then you'll be home. The princess looked at her. I'm scared, she admitted. I don't know who I am anymore. What if my mother doesn't recognize me? Sora took her hand. She will. A mother always knows her child. The horizon flew on, broken but determined. Behind them, the hunters were regrouping. Ahead of them, an empire waited 3 more days. Just 3 more days. The horizon crossed into Valoran space, with smoke trailing behind it. The ship was barely holding together. 1 engine was dead. Half the systems were offline. Only Doyon's constant repairs had kept them alive. They were immediately surrounded. The Valoran royal fleet appeared like ghosts from the stars. Huge warships, beautiful and deadly, formed a circle around the small human vessel. Their weapons were ready. Their message was clear: identify yourselves or be destroyed. Captain Junho opened communications. His voice was tired but steady. This is Captain Park Junho of the Earth vessel Horizon. We carry Princess Univel, daughter of Queen Miravel. Request immediate audience with the Queen. Silence. For a long moment, nothing happened. The warships hung in space, weapons still aimed at the damaged human ship. Then something changed. The weapons powered down. The warships moved aside, forming a pathway through their formation. A voice came through the communicator. It was shaking. Proceed to Sereth. You will be escorted. The Queen? The Queen is waiting. The horizon flew through the corridor of massive ships. Valoran crews lined up at windows to watch. Word was spreading. The lost princess was coming home. The journey to Sereth took hours. The princess spent the time looking out the window at the stars of her home system. Stars she had not seen in 30 years. Her glow was strong now, almost as bright as any other Valoran. Her golden eyes shone with emotion. Telos stood beside her. The old guard who had failed to protect her so long ago was finally bringing her back. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry I couldn't save you sooner." The princess took his hand. "You never stopped looking. That's what matters." The ship descended toward Sereth. The crystal palace rose from the beautiful planet like a dream made solid. A crowd had gathered on the landing platform. Thousands of Valorans stood waiting, their silver-blue faces turned toward the sky. And at the front of the crowd, standing alone, was Queen Mira. She wore robes of deep purple. Her crown of crystallized light sat upon her head. Her face was carefully blank. She had trained herself to feel nothing, to expect nothing. She had been disappointed too many times. The horizon landed, the ramp lowered. Captain Junho walked out first. He was limping from his wound. His clothes were torn. His face was exhausted. But he stood straight and bowed, respectfully to the queen. Then the princess appeared. She was not the child who had been taken. She was grown now. Her face carried the marks of suffering. Her body was thin from years of hard labor. But her eyes were golden, warm like sunlight. And her glow, faint but real, pulsed with life. Queen Miravel did not move. She could not move. Her heart, so carefully frozen for 30 years, cracked open. "Mother," the princess said. Her voice trembled. "I remembered your song. Through everything they did to me, I held on to your song. It was the only thing that kept me alive." The queen made a sound. It was not a word. It was not a cry. It was the sound of grief and joy mixing together. Too powerful to control, she ran. The queen of the Valoran Empire, ruler of 7 star systems, abandoned all dignity. She ran across the platform and pulled her daughter into her arms, and then she wept. Silver tears fell from her eyes like falling stars. They soaked her daughter's clothes. They sparkled in the light. There were 30 years of pain and loneliness pouring out at once. The crowd watched in stunned silence. Many had never seen their queen show any emotion. Now she was sobbing openly, holding her child like she would never let go. "I'm sorry," the queen cried. "I'm so sorry I couldn't find you. I sent everyone. I searched everywhere. I never stopped trying." "I know, mother. I know." They held each other for a long time. The crowd began to weep with them. Thousands of Valorans shared the moment, their hearts connecting in the way their species did naturally. Finally, Queen Miravel lifted her head. She looked at the humans standing by their broken ship. These strange creatures, these short-lived beings from a young world, they had done what her best warriors could not. She walked toward them, still holding her daughter's hand. "You have returned my heart to me," she said. Her voice shook, but her words were clear. "Ask anything. Name any price. I will give you worlds. I will give you fleets. Whatever you want is yours." Captain Junho shook his head. "We didn't do this for reward, then why?" Junho looked at his crew. At Sora, who had believed first. At Doyan, still covered in engine grease. At Hannah, standing guard even now. At Telos, weeping quietly in the background. "'Cause someone needed help," Junho said simply, "and we were able to give it." Queen Miravel stared at him. In thousands of years of dealing with other species, she had never encountered anything like this. Beings who risked everything for strangers. Beings who saw suffering and chose to act without asking for payment. She knelt before Captain Junho. The crowd gasped. A queen kneeling before a human? It had never happened before. It would never happen again. "Humanity does not know what they are," she said softly. "But I know now. You are not primitive. You are not reckless. You are valiant. And from this day forward, you have the eternal friendship of the Valoran Empire." Junho was uncomfortable. He helped her to her feet. We'd settle for getting our ship fixed. The Queen laughed. It was a beautiful sound. A sound that had not been heard on Sereth for 30 years. A sound that echoed across the platform and touched every heart. That too, she promised. That too. In the days that followed, the horizon was repaired. Not just repaired, but upgraded with the best Valoran technology. The crew was honored as heroes. Treaties were signed. Alliances were formed. The future of two species changed forever, but the moment that mattered most was simpler. A mother holding her daughter. A queen weeping with gratitude. A handful of humans who had refused to give up. Princess Univel would heal. Her glow would return fully. Her memories would come back piece by piece. She would become a bridge between humans and Valorans. Proof that compassion needed no translation, and across the galaxy, other species heard the story. They heard of humans who flew into the darkness without hesitation. Humans who fought for someone they had never met. Humans who refused to abandon hope. They began to understand what humanity truly was. Not the strongest species. Not the oldest. Not the wisest. But perhaps in the ways that mattered most, the bravest Captain Junho returned to Earth eventually. He held his daughter tight and told her he loved her. He never forgot the gray woman in the mines, or the Queen's tears, or the feeling of carrying hope on his back through fire and darkness. And somewhere in the stars, a mother and daughter sat together in a garden of crystal flowers, finally at peace, because someone had searched, because someone had cared, because humanity refused to look away. The end.